I want you guys to take a look at my super energy right here. When I say this build is going to give you infinite supers, it is not a joke. With the release of Act 2 today, Bungie buffed a lot of roaming supers and gave them roughly 3 times faster recharge rate than any other one and done super. Roaming supers were kind of just always worse compared to these one and done supers, but now that you get them extremely quick, you can use them a lot during any activity you're doing, and if you build into them correctly, as you can see, they are extremely easy to get back. This one's going to be based all around Stormtrance, and I will for sure get to the other roaming supers later, so be sure to stick around for that. This video is going to include gameplay from on-level content all the way from me even solo on a GM. Who would have ever thought Stormtrance could be viable in a Grandmaster Nightfall? And finally, before we get into it, I do want to apologize. I'm not going to have a face cam for this video, and some of the quality may be a little off compared to normal. The reason for that is that I've actually pulled something in the right side of my neck, and I can barely move as it is without being in any excruciating pain. But I was excited for Act 2 and excited for all of these buffs, so I knew I wanted to get these builds out for you. But again, I just did want to apologize if they're not at the highest quality that I normally put out. Regardless, I hope you all can enjoy it, and I hope you all have fun with this build. All right, starting off, let's take a look at Stormdancer's Brace. This is going to be our exotic of choice. This has the exotic perk Ascending Amplitude. Each target you defeat with Stormtrance increases the damage you deal with it and refunds super energy when Stormtrance ends. Since this act seems to be all about roaming supers, any roaming super base exotic definitely just got a buff, and in my opinion, this is probably going to be one of the best ones. So this is going to give you 10% increase to your Stormtrance damage, which can stack up to 10 times, so a total will be 100% increase, and it will refund 50% of your super energy if you get enough kills to reach that threshold. It is extremely easy to reach that threshold, and you're pretty much always going to have that 50% ability energy there. Then pair that with the fact that we are getting that 3 times increase to our Roman super energy, you get these back extremely quick. Stormtrance on its own honestly isn't the greatest. It's decent at ad clear, but with this exotic granted and extra damage, it becomes a pretty useful tool for ad clear, even in things like GMs. And if you have everything stacked up with weekend, some unravel, even something like a Hellion, it can actually put out some decent boss damage as well while you're pretty tanky. However, that's obviously not the main benefit of Stormtrance. You ideally want to use this to clear out a ton of ads and then refund half that super energy and then work on getting that super energy back. Now, alongside that super energy buff, we can actually take exotics that will heavily play into this as well. With things like Bad Juju, every kill you get, you're going to get extra super energy. This is great to have. It's also very strong for ad clear since they buffed it and made the Cursed Thrall explosion proc a lot more often. But you can also run things like Outbreak Perfected in something like a GM. You're going to build up a ton of Transcendence energy, and you're going to build up a ton of super energy just with the amount of damage you're doing. Ideally, you could take any weapon you really want to here, just make sure it is kinetic, because it'll play into some of our fragments up here on Prismatic. But overall, Bad Juju and Outbreak are going to be the two go-tos. Bad Juju being more for normal to medium content, then Outbreak obviously being for high-end things like GMs. Regardless, both of them are going to grant you a ton of super energy, and then pairing that with the exotic and the buff, you can literally spam infinite Stormtrances. But talking about the subclass, let's jump into that. And first off, obviously we are going to be running Stormtrance. The thing I want to note is that this can also create the shockwave underneath you, and that shockwave can jolt. The jolt on its own for ad clear honestly is whatever, since Stormtrance is already going to kill everything, but you can use the landfall slam to stun things like Overload champions, since jolt can stun Overload. It's actually very useful. And then if you pair that with things like Hellion, which is going to be one of our main aspects, this can ignite enemies, and so it can stun Unstoppable. So you have 2 different champion stuns just in your subclass alone, and that is very, very strong. Now for Hellion, if you don't know, when you activate your class ability, which will be taking Phoenix Dive because it has the lowest cooldown, you're going to get a little solar buddy that constantly shoots. This can work while you're inside of Stormtrance, and that makes it so you can have Jolt, Scorch, Ignitions, and obviously the super damage as well going on whatever you're shooting at, and you can honestly slay out with that. Now we can also pair that with things like Devour, so if we get an ability kill, going to heal to full, and we're going to get a bunch of grenade energy. Now for our abilities, I'm going to be running Vortex Grenade. The Vortex Grenade is nice because it will suck a bunch of enemies in. This is great for getting grenade kills as well. We're also going to be pairing this with Dominant, so our Void Grenades can weaken targets. Since now Vortex weaken targets, again, it just makes it easier to get kills. But on top of that, our Transcendence Grenade now also has the ability to weaken targets. Transcendence will be a huge part of this build as well. And again, you're going to be getting all these grenades back really quick because of Feed the Void, on top of getting the health back. For your melee, Arcane Needle is great for doing some extra damage. Again, you could throw this, pair that with the Jolt, the Scorch, the Ignitions, everything like that. It does a lot of damage. Also, it can help build up your Darkness meter, which is very, very nice. And the cool thing, if you didn't know, your Hellion can actually proc Devour if it gets a kill. So if you're ever in a last-ditch effort sort of thing and you don't have an ability, just let your Hellion get a kill and you'll get Devour back. Also, Stormtrance being an ability, can also proc Devour, so it makes you pretty much unkillable when you're slaying all the ads because you're constantly healing to full. But getting into fragments, and speaking of being unkillable, I like to take protection so I get damage reduction when I'm surrounded. I get more while I'm transcendent. This is great, just helps out with survivability. On top of that, Faceted Grace, so whenever I get kinetic weapon kills, I'll get bonus transcendence energy. This is a big reason why I recommend taking kinetic weapons, and obviously with Bad Juju and Outbreak both being kinetic, it works very well. They're basically just going to be filling that darkness energy bar up a lot quicker. The reason you really only have to worry about the darkness bar is because Stormtrance, you're going to be spamming these all the time. It is quite literally always going to fill your light bar up 24/7. You literally never have to worry about it, but even if you do, this still helps out with that, which is great. Now on top of that is Facet of Hope, so whenever I have an elemental buff, say something like Devour, I will get increased class ability cooldown. This is great because again, our class ability is going to spawn our Hellion, but this is going to play heavy into some of our armor mods, which works extremely well with the 3x buff to our roaming supers. And then we've already talked about dominance, but then also Facet Courage, so my Arc Soul and Void abilities do more damage to enemies, afflicting with darkness debuff. Since I can spread unravel everywhere, pretty much everything's always going to be darkness debuff. So my grenade, even my Transcendence grenades, this applies stasis. My Stormtrance, everything's just gonna be doing more damage, even the Hellion, and you could just slay out with this. Now I do want to mention the artifact really quick. Nothing really matters with this. Nothing is super synergistic. If you want to take something like the Thick of It, so you can get some armor charge, if you get heals while you're surrounded, Stormtrance will constantly let you be surrounded, go for it. It's not a must. There's nothing in here that strictly synergizes with this build enough. I feel like you really need to go over it. Obviously, if you're taking grenade launchers, take the grenade launcher artifact perks, but we're not really playing into blind or arc weapons in general, so you can't really take things like Retinal Burn and Trace Evidence, and even the new artifact perk with arc compounding. Again, we're not really blinding targets. If you want to alter this build and play into blind and run some of these artifact perks, you totally can, but just know that really nothing here matters. If I had any recommendations, I would definitely just take the grenade launcher artifact perks and then maybe even swap on the finisher artifact perks. Just, you know, you have a little, you know, finishing capabilities. But other than that, it doesn't really matter too much. And then real quick, for other weapons, if you haven't got the chill inhibitor yet, definitely be sure to go get this. It is quite literally the god roll. It is so good. I also like to pair something like Velocity Baton, but you can totally swap this out for literally whatever you want to. The main weapon you just need to run is something like Bad Juju or Outbreak Perfected, or any other kinetic weapon of your choice, but these two being the best. Now for stat distribution, I definitely go with 100 resilience, get your 30% damage reduction, 100 discipline, so you can throw your grenades a lot more. Pairing that with Devour, you can pretty much just always spam these things. I then like to play into recovery. If you can get up more than 60, I totally would do that because you want to spam your class ability a lot with this build. Unfortunately, I don't really have a good Storm Dancer's brace because I never really kept it, because I never thought a day would come where this thing is actually going to be meta, but here we are. But 60 is nice to have, and I also have 50 in strength, so your fourth thing, I would definitely just try to go into strength, because throwing more arcane needles to proc things like courage is always going to be great. Now for armor mods, this is what I'm running if you like to copy it down, but as a more in-depth look, I am going to be running a kinetic siphon, so I can make orbs of power whenever I get rapid kinetic weapon final blows. This is great to give you armor charge. It's great to build your super energy up even more. And then on top of that, we're also going to be running ashes to asset, so we get bonus super energy when we get grenade kills. Obviously we can spam my grenade a lot. This is just going to further help out, giving us even more energy to spam our super even more. And then dynamo, which is what I was talking about heavily with our class ability, so we can reduce our super cooldown when we use our class ability near targets. You get a bunch of super energy with this. There are a lot of enemies around, and again, pairing that with the 3x buff that these Roman supers got, you can pretty much hit this and you're honestly just getting a huge chunk. Now for my arms, I do like to take a kinetic loader just to speed things up a little bit. If you want to swap this out for literally anything else, you totally can, because obviously Bad Juju reloads on a kill. Outbreak, if you have rewind rounds, you don't really have to reload it, so be sure to swap this out if you want to. But if you're just addicted to that reload speed like I am, definitely be sure to keep this on. But then also momentum transfer and bolstering detonation, so whenever I deal damage with a grenade, I'm going to get melee energy, and I'm also going to get class ability energy. Since we can spam our grenade the most, this is just great to have to further get our other abilities up. And then for our chest piece, just always go with resistant mods. Just be sure to swap these out for whatever content you're going into. And then for our boots, I do like to take an innervation alongside an orbs of restoration and an absolution. So innervation will give us grenade energy on orb pickup, orbs of restoration will give us energy to our lowest ability on orb pickup, and then absolution will give us energy to all of our abilities on orb pickup. So we're heavily just playing in to get our ability energy back. You don't really need to take things like recuperation since you have Devour permanently all the time. If you want to play into surge mods, you totally can to do more damage. damage. But overall, this is more of an ad clear GM type build for me personally, so that's why I'm not opting to take surge mods. It's not really like a DPS build, so that's why I'm just taking more energy. Now for our class item, for our final thing, I just like to take a powerful attraction, so whenever I use my class ability, I pick up all the orbs around us. This will proc everything else we've already went over in the build with picking an orb up. This is just great to have also to get super energy when you use your class ability, because not only are you getting the dynamo procs, but you're also getting the orb pickup procs. Now distribution is great because whenever you use our class ability near enemies, we're now going to get energy back for all of our abilities. Not only are we getting super energy now, but we're also getting them for everything. And then finally, utility kickstart. So whenever we use our class ability, it will actually refund some of our class ability back. And based on the amount of armor chart stacks we have, which will pretty much always be max, we get even more energy. This is great because again, spamming your class ability with this is going to be very, very strong for getting your Hellion, for getting your Dynamo up constantly, and let you spam your supers even more often. Now, this is where I would normally go into the transmog of the build, but I do want to give a quick PSA really quick. If you are running Transcendence with this, which you absolutely should, because Transcendence is obviously very strong paired with everything that we've already talked about. But if you have Transcendence active and you pop Stormtrance, for some reason, you will not get the super energy the Stormdancer's Brace gives. This works the exact same way with Skull of Diahamkara. I made a video about this a while ago when the season first came out, or the episode first came out. For some reason, the Transcendence just overruns the super energy gains back from these exotics. So always be sure if you are going to be using Stormtrance, don't have your Transcendence active. It can be charged, you just can't actively be using it. And I would only ever activate Stormtrance while your Transcendence is active if you're in a dire situation and if you absolutely need to. I really hope Bungie sees this and can fix it, but I'm pretty sure Skull of Diahamkara again still has the exact same issue going on. It feels really bad to constantly spam Stormdancer's Brace over and over again till one time just have your Transcendence proc and then you don't get the 50% energy back because you were in Transcendence. It sucks really, really bad. But now, talking about the transmog, this is what I'm running. Obviously, I went for a very arc theme look. I took advantage of some of the arc 3.0 armor, and then I also took advantage of the ornament for Stormdancer's Brace. I think the ornament looks so much better than the original version. I have some Solstice armor, I have the Fortnite armor, and then I'm pretty sure this is from the Mass Effect collection, but obviously I made it look very shocking and electrifying. The boots I really couldn't do a lot with, but I made it glow with, you know, the fact that it's the Solstice armor and I'm running an arc subclass. But overall, I think it turned out looking pretty cool. If you want to make your warlock look like this, definitely be sure to copy it down. Anyway, though, that's going to do it all for me. Let me know what you all think about this build in the comments below. Have you all played around with the Roman super buff? I've seen a lot of people still just running single target damage supers, but I genuinely think the buff that these Roman supers got is very, very strong, and you're definitely going to see these a lot more often in things like GMs because you could just get them so quick now. Anyways, though, I wish you all the best of luck of putting this build together for yourself. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you all have a great day. Peace.